Hello and welcome. Today we're diving into something that really flips our usual way of thinking on its head. It's this idea that an open heart, well, it isn't something we can just achieve through sheer effort. It's something that happens to us. It's a journey that's less about doing and way more about letting go. This quote right here, it just gets to the absolute core of what we're talking about. See, it's not about trying to batter down the doors of our heart with willpower. It's about that one surprising moment when the fortress we call ourselves just gives way. Not by force, but through a kind of surrender. That single idea really sets the stage for everything we're about to explore. So this brings us to a huge paradox on the spiritual path. The heart opening is a lot like the dawn. You know, we can't command the sun to rise, can we? But what we can do is be awake to greet it when it does. It's a gift, not something we can engineer or control. And here's the real tension of it all. We are absolutely encouraged to seek, to meditate, to live a good life, to do the work. But that final step, that ultimate opening, that's not something we do. All our efforts are like tilling the soil, preparing the ground for a seed that, in the end, is planted by a force that's way beyond our personal will. Okay, so where does a transformation like this actually happen? Well, it's a fundamental shift in our inner landscape. It's a move from the busy, noisy territory of the thinking mind into the vast, open space of the heart. This breakdown really captures the two different ways we can experience the world. The mind is our survival tool, right? It separates things, it analyzes, it creates that hard boundary of me versus you. It's absolutely essential, but it's not where this awakening happens. The heart, on the other hand, operates through connection. It doesn't need to analyze truth, it just knows it directly. It's the doorway to unity. And what this leads to is this profound, earth-shattering shift in identity. Most of us live our lives feeling like a separate little wave, trying to protect ourselves, trying to get bigger and stronger than all the other waves. The heart's opening is that stunning moment of realization that your true nature isn't the wave at all. It's the entire ocean. And when that happens, suddenly there's nothing left to protect. But what is the force that even allows this to happen? This brings us to a concept that is so often misunderstood: grace. What exactly is this unseen hand that helps this profound opening along? I just love this definition from the philosopher Paul Brunton because it shows us the two sides of the coin. First, there's our part, our aspiration, our sincerity, our faith, the work we put in. And then there's the response from something much larger than ourselves, what Brunton calls the overself, which then lifts us to a whole new level. So you see, in this view, grace isn't just some random thing, it's a response. To really get what grace is, it helps to be clear on what it isn't. It's not some prize you get for being good. It's not a magical, impersonal force that just zaps you out of the blue. And it absolutely does not cancel out our own work. In fact, it depends on it. And it is definitely not some special commodity reserved for a favored few. It's a universal potential in all of us. Ram Dass just captures the feeling of grace so perfectly here. It creates this atmosphere of total safety, of unconditional love, where you finally realize that nobody wants anything from you. And in that safety, the heart, which might have been clenched tight in fear or defense for years, finally feels like it can relax and open up all on its own. So if grace is this gift that we can't force, what's our role in all of this? What is the traveler's work on this journey? Well, it's all about preparing the ground. It's about making ourselves receptive to that gift when it arrives. Now, this is a really huge mind shift. We aren't trying to build or acquire an open heart. The big insight here is that open-heartedness is a priceless treasure that's already there, inside every single one of us. It's just covered up by layers of frantic thought, agitation, and fear. Our work, then, is simply to uncover it. So how do we actually do that uncovering? Well, first, we work on calming the mental chatter, just enough to create a little gap, a little quiet space inside. Then, we can gently rest our attention in the heart space. We're not forcing anything, just allowing our awareness to be there. And crucially, this inner work gets supported by our outer life, by making the conscious choice for kindness, honesty, and courage in our daily lives. But here's the thing. Grace doesn't always show up gently while you're sitting on a meditation cushion. In fact, sometimes its arrival is sudden, surprising, and can even be, pretty challenging. There's this incredible story about a psychotherapist who was just sitting in a classroom, and a student simply whispered the word gratitude. And in that one instant, bam, his heart spontaneously opened.
It's such a powerful reminder that gratitude can be this incredibly direct gateway that just dissolves the ego's constant focus on what's missing.
But grace isn't always a gentle stream. Sometimes it's a waterfall. It can show up as a life-altering crisis, a loss, a failure, a challenge that just shatters our illusion that we are in control of everything. It's the force that brings us right to the very edge of what we think we can handle. And this is a really radical way to reframe suffering. That dark night of the soul, that period of deep despair or confusion, it's not a punishment. Think about modern struggles, things like burnout or a full-blown existential crisis. From this perspective, they can actually be seen as a profound act of grace, a kind of fierce mercy that burns away everything we've been falsely clinging to, leaving only what is real and true. So, what does life actually look like after this kind of opening? How does our day-to-day existence really change? Well, people often describe it as upgrading to a completely new, more harmonious operating system for your life.
Life just becomes less about pushing and striving and more about flowing. Your actions start to arise naturally, perfectly for the moment, not from a place of anxious planning, but from a deep alignment with the flow of life itself. It's creative, it's spontaneous, it's alive.
And your whole perspective on care just shifts. That hard boundary between me and you starts to dissolve. Compassion is no longer some moral duty you feel you have to perform. It just becomes this natural expression, like breathing. Caring for others feels exactly like caring for yourself because you genuinely start to see everyone as family. Now, it is so important to remember this isn't about achieving some permanent, static state of perfection. We might still get caught up in our minds. Of course we will. But the crucial insight here is that once that window to the sacred opens, even for a moment, it never completely closes again. That memory becomes a kind of compass, a touchstone that constantly reminds you of a deeper reality. And that really leaves us with this final, provocative question. If this openness isn't something we need to build, but something that is already our inherent nature, just waiting to be uncovered, then what really are we waiting for? A powerful thought to leave you with. Thanks for joining me today.